Hello there, and welcome to the Leicester City versus Liverpool preview. It's a good couple of days away, is what I should have said. It's a good couple of days away, but hopefully it gives us a couple of things to look into as well. There hasn't been a press conference or anything like that regarding the game and in terms of players available and stuff. So when I do my predicted lineup, it is literally just what I'm looking for and what I would like us to be able to do, what we're capable of doing, and what we can put out on show as well. Now, feel free to get your comments in the comment section below. What do you think Liverpool should be doing in this game? Who should be playing and who should not be? We'll discuss everything that I go through in this video, but please do feel free to get your thoughts and comments in the comments section below. Now, when I was looking at things after I'd made the Man City video, and I really wish I'd actually put it in the video, this actually really annoyed me. We played Fabinho and Henderson at centre-back, and there's Nat Phillips on the bench. I don't I don't understand it. I don't know why he was on the bench, was never brought on or anything like that either. And I felt that we actually really could have done with someone like Henderson or even Fabinho in the midfield. Really could have done with that. The fact that we had Kabak and Nat Phillips on the bench really actually did make me think, well, actually we could have played a little bit differently in that game. We could have put different players in different positions. We could have had people playing in their native positions as well while having centre backs in there. I totally understand and get that having Kabak make a debut against someone like Man City would have been too much of a risk. I absolutely get that. But what you could have done was put Nat Phillips alongside Fabinho and have Henderson go into midfield. That could have been something that was really worthwhile. Would have helped us in the second half as well. Hopefully, and we can hopefully do this in the next game against Leicester. But it could have helped us control that midfield a little bit more when we get into the second half. So that was really the only thing that I wanted to look at in terms of that. What I want to look at next is I actually want to look at Leicester. So we'll switch back over here. Let's have a look at Leicester and their last game. So their last game was against Wolves, and the team that they put out to start here was not a bad team whatsoever. It was a 0-0, this result between Wolves and Leicester, and Wolves seem to be putting in some good performances lately as well, so they're seeming like they're getting their form back as well. Difficult team to face. But Leicester are a difficult team to face as well. They had a couple of yellow cards in here as well. Don't know if that impacts how they will line up against us this week. I fully expect that Jamie Vardy will be making an appearance for Leicester against us, most likely in the starting position over Iheanacho. That is what I'm expecting. But generally, they've got a pretty solid team. Good attacking team. They've got a good defensive team as well. They've got Soyuncu back as well, which means they don't have to just fully rely on. I don't know if the lad's injured, but I think what's his name? Fofana, who came from Saint Etienne and has done really well for them as well. They've got Pereira back on the right hand side as well. They've got options. They've got a lot of key injuries. He's been out injured for a long time. Probably his inclusion and Soyuncu's inclusion at the end of last season could have helped them actually get top four last season. But hey, these guys are a difficult team to come up against. Kasper Schmeichel is always a decent goalkeeper with the ability of playing at a high level as well. And I don't mean in terms of changing teams. I mean his level of goalkeeping can always go a little bit higher depending on games. Always puts in a good performance against us most of the time as well. Since then, obviously, what we're looking at here. So their games that they've had, if we look over here anyway, they beat Fulham 2-0. They had a loss against Leeds United, draw against Everton, draw against Leicester, against Wolves. But they've had a pretty good run of form before that, beating Newcastle, beating Stoke in the FA Cup, beating Chelsea, beating Southampton as well. They have had a pretty good run of form. They're not in a very great run of form right now, but they're certainly nothing compared to what Liverpool are going through in terms of form. So I fully expect that a Jamie Vardy-led Leicester will be coming at us at the weekend as well. Let's also now have a look at the table. So obviously the table, this is third coming up against fourth, but it's much more important than that for Liverpool from a Liverpool perspective anyway. It's not just third coming up against fourth. It is quite literally us staying in the top four or us dropping out of it and potentially going down to somewhere as low as sixth, somewhere as low as seventh if we don't pick up a win or if we only pick up a draw in this game as well. Now, ideally, we all want to go out there and get 3 points. that's nothing short of that's an understatement to say something like that. That really is. It's actually, we definitely all want to go out there and get the 3 points. That's a no-brainer. But what we are also wanting is an improved performance. An improved performance would be what we saw for some parts of the game against Manchester City. The game against Manchester City, there were some parts where you felt actually we played well here, we controlled possession and stuff like that in some areas as well, but we fell apart after two mistakes by Alisson as well. We want to see a much more controlled, aggressive Liverpool. It's difficult for us to do it because obviously the players seem to be suffering from some form of fatigue. They have been going non-stop, and Jamie Carragher highlighted this as well on Monday Night Football. They've been going non-stop for 3 years, over 3 years for some of them as well. There's barely been much rotation for Liverpool because we just have not rotated a great deal, and that is just a fact. So if Liverpool had actually the ability to rotate like a Man City do, where people could turn around and say, what is Man City's best 11? Who knows? Because they could swap out a lot of their players and they will still get that same level of performance in attack, in midfield, in defence. Very rarely, maybe last season was the only time where you saw their levels maybe drop off a little bit, and I still think they finished second. I think they did anyway. I'm pretty sure they did. I can't remember. We were too far ahead last season to really bother about who was below us. But I think they've corrected that. They've got a lot more depth. They're always going to have a lot more depth than us as well. But other teams that have been below us in terms of quality, and we talk about Manchester United, you talk about even Leicester to a point as well. They seem to now all be finding some level of consistency in their play, and we just aren't at the moment. We are one mistake away from fully collapsing in a game. When we were at 1-1 against Manchester City, I felt that we warranted a draw. Didn't warrant anything above that. But once we made that first mistake, the mentality just went, the confidence just went, and our confidence right now is literally, it's on a knife edge. If we do well and we start out well in the game, more than likely it's going to go up a little bit, right? But as soon as we make a mistake or something that costs us a little bit, it's going to come right back down, and it's a battle. Everything's going to be a battle for Liverpool this season. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be enjoyable all the way through. But fingers crossed, we can come out of here and get a good result alongside at least an okay performance. Now, I'm going to get into my lineup of what I would like to see against Leicester. Let me know what you think in the comments below, because I think this is totally doable. As long as no one's injured or picked up anything from the last game, I think we should be going with this. Have a look at it. Let me know what you think, because I think this is totally doable. I really do think this is totally doable. How much more confident would you feel being able to put Fabinho and Henderson back into midfield? Curtis Jones, I felt, was our best player against Manchester City. He would retain his place for me. Trent and Robertson, alternatives for those guys, Nico Williams and Tsimikas. Tsimikas just haven't played enough. Nico Williams could certainly do a job there as well, for sure. He's a very good talent, not on that level of Trent Alexander-Arnold, but Trent also, he's having ups and downs. He has great games, fantastic games, and then all of a sudden it drops just a little bit. Alisson retains his place rightfully in goal for me. He made two mistakes. Yes, he will get over those mistakes. He's saved us many times before. He will save us again. I'm sure of it. Then we move on to the midfield. Henderson and Fabinho back into the midfield. Now you could put Gini Wijnaldum next to him instead of Curtis Jones, or you could put James Milner in there as well. I feel personally, one, it would be absolutely fantastic to get Fabinho back into the midfield. So much so it really puts a smile on my face to think about it. Two, it means that we get Henderson back into midfield on a more permanent basis, as long as no one picks up any injuries. Fingers crossed again. Definitely 100%. Three, Nat Phillips gets to come back into the team, which he should never really come out of the team unless it's for injury. That's just how I feel about it as well. Nat Phillips deserves to be in this team. He's put in some very good performances for Liverpool. Doesn't deserve to have his place taken away from him. Should be staying in the team. Ozan Kabak can then make his debut for Liverpool against Leicester. People might say, oh, we've thrown them in too soon. When is too soon? When is too late? Tell me, because I can't figure it out. Like, against Man City, I can totally understand it. Absolutely 100% understand it, because they are the best team in the league right now. we were 20 minutes away from getting a draw out of that game. Couldn't pull it together. But coming up against Leicester and coming up against teams that we're going to come up against in the next few weeks for the next rest of the season, Kabak, it sounds cliche to say, but he looks good in training. Seems to be communicating well with all the people that are around him that he's doing rondos with and everything in training. Looks confident, feels confident most likely, and we'll probably be looking at games like when he probably sat there against when we were playing against Man City and looked at that and thought, I can start in this defence as it is right now. I can start in this defence alongside someone else, and we can have our midfielders playing in midfield. I'm not saying it will change things overnight. It won't. It won't change things overnight. There will still be things happen at the back because he's a brand new player in a brand new team with a brand new centre back partner with someone like Nat Phillips or whoever it might be. Worst case scenario for me is to put Fabinho at centre back and Kabak or someone alongside him. Fair play. That's Fabinho's played there a lot, but I don't feel that Henderson has done badly at centre back, but we miss so much of him when he's not in midfield. When he plays in midfield, there's just so much more that comes from our game. And I will load this up while I've got that on screen actually, but I just want to go back and look and see who did we have in midfield when we played against West Ham and Tottenham. So I'm just going to dive back over here at the moment. We're going to look at West Ham Liverpool. So in that one, that was Henderson and Nat Phillips. So Nat Phillips was definitely in there. I remember that one now. Thiago, Gini Wijnaldum, James Milner, fair play. Then against Tottenham, it was again Henderson, but Thiago, Gini Wijnaldum, and James Milner. We had those three in midfield 2 games in a row and won them both. So that's quite interesting, to be fair. Now, I would still much prefer to see this. As good as like Henderson and Nat Phillips were as a partnership, you've got to start building a proper defensive centre-back partnership now until the end of the season. Whether that's with Fabinho involved or not in that back line, I'm not sure. But the quality of Fabinho as a centre-back, if we can have that in the midfield again, we'll get much more joy in the midfield. Now, some of you might think, why have you not included Thiago in this lineup? I think that this lineup will allow us to play a little bit faster. I'm not saying that Thiago is a negative influence on Liverpool and the way that we play, but I do think there are some times when his style of play doesn't allow us to go full throttle at teams, doesn't allow us to go hell for leather, get the ball moving quickly, quick, sharp, one-touch football, whatever it might be. His style of football is quite a lot of, he loves working in tight spaces, small spaces, a minimal amount of room to work in, which is great, and that's fine, that's awesome, but needs to be quicker with the release of the ball, in my opinion. Whereas you get Jordan Henderson, Fabinho, Curtis Jones, you get 3 different types of quality midfielders in there, but all geared towards going forward, not necessarily maintaining possession and recycling that possession. They want to move that ball forward. That's the only reason that I would see Thiago drop to the bench in this game, and that's not a negative, I don't think. I just think the dynamic of the team right now, the one thing that we miss from a Liverpool football team is, what do we recognise over years past? Liverpool, when we get the ball, we move. We move and we're aggressive. We move, it's fast, it's pacey, difficult to keep up with as an opposition player. At the moment, things sometimes get to like the halfway line or just over the halfway line, the ball's moving, and then all of a sudden, the brakes are sort of put on, and then we start pass recycling, and then the team that we're coming up against drops back. Now, City did this a couple of times, and I started watching it, and I was like, they're actually dropping back a little bit and just letting us have possession because we struggle at the moment to break teams down a lot. The Tottenham and West Ham result aside, we struggle to break teams down quite a bit, and they obviously must have looked at that and thought, you know what, we can counter these guys all day long, and they did. I would love to see this. It also, for me, means that, Bobby Firmino drops to the bench, but Shaqiri, on his recent form, doesn't deserve to be out of the starting 11, in my opinion. Salah is still on fire. He can still score goals. Scored the penalty against City. Sadio Mane was recently injured. He'll most likely come back and rediscover a little bit of form as well. Hopefully, again, fingers crossed. But yeah, that's the lineup that I would like to see. against Leicester. Let me know what you think in the comments below, because I think it's totally doable. I don't think it's insurmountable for us to think that we could go and do that. And this is such an important game against a very difficult team. It's a very well coached team from back to front. Again, go back and look. When you think of these guys, they've got a nice mix of youth, got a nice mix of, tenacity and aggression in the midfield, especially Chowdhury, very aggressive in winning the ball back. The front line can change quite a bit. Harvey Barnes, Ayoze Perez. Then they've got options from the bench as well. Mark Albrighton, Cengiz Under, I can't remember how you say his name. Jamie Vardy starting from the bench as well. You've got these guys that can change in and out, and it doesn't greatly change a lot. I would obviously say that Jamie Vardy's the more quality striker over Iheanacho, but he's still a threat as well. This isn't going to be an easy game whatsoever, and no game for Liverpool is going to be an easy game. Let's be honest. We know this, we recognise it. And as I say, our battle for top four started a long time ago. Started about maybe October time for us. Just a lot of people didn't really see it because we were around about the top of the table at the time, if not at the top of the table, putting in some good performances as well. But things are starting to catch up with us, and it does look like, hopefully, fingers crossed, everything that the players have said since the loss against City, taking this week to properly train, properly recover, everything like that, all great, sounds great, music to our ears. But again, words only count for so much. We need to see actions, we need to see differences on the pitch as well. We are still a quality team. We are still very much a quality team, 100%. But we need to support the team, get behind the team, but also the team needs to put in a good performance now as well, because to get top four isn't just a given. I go back and hopefully the table's down here. It's very, very tight. We go and look from even Aston Villa, even maybe Leeds. It's within Leeds are within 8 points of us. And Leeds are having a great season. They're having a fantastic season. Got a really good win last night as well. Very impressive against Crystal Palace. They're having a great season. They're 8 points away from the holy grail of relegation safety, which is exactly what we're on right now, 40 points. This isn't going to be a mass point season this year, but it's never an insurmountable thing where, say, if results don't go our way in terms of teams around us win and we don't, it's not impossible to think that we can drop to like 8th in the table. It can happen. It would be a disaster, and we would absolutely have to go hammer and tong in the Champions League when our opponent is RB Leipzig. Oh, I'm not worried. No, honestly, it's just one of those things at the moment. It's easy to get caught up in anxiety, but we can only take it a game at a time. It's all we can do. We come up against Leicester. They struggled in the last couple of games, but they very well could come out in form against Liverpool. Liverpool, on the other hand, could also come out in this game, have a point to prove, and be like, listen, we're going to get over City and we're going to come out, hopefully, and with anything, if we do anything like this, I'm going to be very excited to see it. I really will. The difference that could be made by having Fabinho and Jordan Henderson in the midfield for us could be absolutely massive. Ozan Kabak making his debut, or even Ben Davies could make his debut, whoever it could be. Nat Phillips back in. I think that this could be very, very good. A strong enough lineup for sure to get Liverpool a good result against Leicester. In terms of that, what do I think the result will be? I think it's going to be tight, and I say this every single time. I've got a feeling that it could be a draw. I think that maybe Leicester, with Jamie Vardy leading the line, depending on how we set up in the back line, is going to determine a lot, in my opinion. If we go with actual centre-backs, I think we've got more of a chance. Not taking anything away from Henderson, certainly not taking anything away from Fabinho, but what they could bring us in the midfield against a combative midfield that could include someone like an Ndidi for Leicester, or some other players as well, even the guys that they've already had like Chowdhury. It's going to be a hard game, difficult game, and we need to make sure that we've got players that are both fit, ready, and playing in their proper positions. We haven't seen Fabinho in midfield since October, as far as I can remember, since Virgil van Dijk got injured. Need to see him back in midfield. I'm going to go 1-0 Liverpool. Boring, but I don't care how we do it, honestly. Like, I want to see us play out our regular football that we're used to, but 1-0. I'm going to go 1-0 Liverpool. I think that we hopefully, if we keep a clean sheet, that's a miracle. But yeah, I'm going to go 1-0 Liverpool and just get the result over the line. If we do that for the rest of the season, I don't care. Goal difference can just go out the window. Top four is what it's all about right now. Let me know what you think in the comments below about this game. I'm quite nervous for it already, and it's not until Saturday, and it's only Tuesday. But hey, it's the only thing that we can focus on now. Everyone else is playing the FA Cup, and that might be another thing that plays in our favour, is that Leicester's got the FA Cup, but they will rotate anyway. I'm out of here for now. Let me know what you think in the comments below about this game, how you're feeling, who should be playing in this game. Do you agree with my lineup, or do you disagree with it? Let me know it in the comments below. Thank you ever so much for watching, and I'll catch you later.